Thank you, Dad.
So you see, we live in not knowing. Imagine you're talking to someone who has never thought or considered thought before. Doesn't even have a word for it until you say it. So he says, "Oh, what's that?" And say, "Well, instead of a thing actually being, I'm going to shut my eyes and visualize it." How do you mean visualize it? Well, see it in my mind. But you've got your eyes shut. How can you see it? Well, yeah, I don't mean literally. I mean, I'm dealing with it in my mind as if it did exist, even though it doesn't, in the real world. But if it doesn't in the real world, how can you be dealing with it in your mind? Are you saying your mind's not real? Oh no, it's very real. In fact, everything I do, well, it can't be experienced but for the mind. Well, I can't tell you. It's as if you rehearse reality as it could be, and then you decide whether you like it or not, and then you decide whether you want to move towards that sort of outcome in the real world or not. And sometimes it's nothing to do with the real world. It's just thought. And you might think of something for hours. But it's all make-believe. Well, from the real world point of view. But it might be very important to you. It might be a worry. It might be a hope. And these thoughts are everything to your well-being and life. Oh. Do I have them? Oh yes, because you've just imagined it yourself. That's thinking. Because it hasn't happened, has it? But you're, in some sense, rehearsing what could happen. Well, if thought is as you say, what's the difference between the real world, which can only be appreciated in thought, and thoughts you have that are not in the real world yet, and may never be? Or maybe. Oh, there you have it. There's no difference at all. Except that at the minute, the real world is what you keep returning to. So it tends to be very important to you. But there will come a time when you do not return to this world. And then you'll find your thoughts are the reality that you have. So, you want them well trained here. That when you return to not being in this world, you can be in heaven. Ah, what's heaven? Well, hard to say really. But it's a state of awareness that is without end and very good. In fact, you could say fullness of life. Wonderful. Oh. How did you say we get there? We train our thoughts while here to be good, in harmony with such a place. And then we're just instantly drawn to such a place when we leave here. We wouldn't choose to go anywhere else. Oh, that's good. Yes. Very good. So you know the way to go, don't you? Thank you, Heavenly Dad. So your thoughts are an occupation of God's mind. And in God's mind you can practice anything and frighten yourself to death, of course, but it's best to practice things that are good. So you need to control your access in the mind, where you're going, what you're doing, what you're using in God's mind. And apply it to what we call the real world, this dream that we keep returning to, and see how it works out. And in effect, you're still in God's mind, but you see the consequence of these particular values that lead you in a certain way through God's mind. And you think, oh, this is nice, or oh goodness, I don't like this. And well, you search in the mind of God, search out which values you like most, which you find very acceptable, and compared to those that you don't, and you continue down those avenues if you can. And sometimes the values you've got, very, very often, in fact, most, especially early on in childhood, so to speak, practicing, you find the values that you have are not consistent, and things break down when you practice them in the reality of this dream, of this world. So you rethink your values again, and well, this way we train to have a freedom in God's mind that is happy and fulfilling, and well, life. We're practicing in creating good life. And life eternal is one that is eternally good. Blessedness, joy, peace, and great satisfaction, bliss. The things that we value. And of course we because in God's mind, I mean, there's an eternal creativity that's possible. We want it to be good, very good, because we've had the experience here in this world, in this dream, of what happens when it's not good. And we certainly don't want that. We're clear on that. So we are appropriately motivated now, orientated, steering ever towards what is good, as a consequence of having experienced this world that we keep returning to at the minute. Well, in a strange way, we find the reality of this world that we try to
experiment with here becomes a fullness of life in the infinity of God's mind. So if we think of it now as a fellowship with God that really matters because it's His mind and His being that we fully experience can in heaven, then we want a view of Him that is going to be wonderful for eternity. So the Jesus story suggestion is that we think of Him in terms of He's our Heavenly Dad that loves us and cares for us. In other words, we see Him as an eternal, wonderful being to be with. And indeed, all the other people that persons, individuals that we've met here and trillions that we have not met that are in heaven, that have this freedom and goodness that we value as well. So we are to be thinking along the lines of being in perfect fellowship with such. We are quite simply creating our own eternal, wonderful future. And the point of the Jesus story is that we determine it in a beautiful way, utterly wonderful, infinite blessing. You see, we need rescue from mistakes that we might make. I mean, we don't want a long time in not being here that is unhappy, distressed, painful. So we learn here in childhood to control where we're going or to orientate it, and we do that by wanting, purposing the safety of God, our perfect Heavenly Dad, the safety of His eternal, perfect purpose and being. We take on those values to be eternally with Him. I mean, what could be more blessed than to be in a communion that is in absolute harmony with His perfection, loveliness, goodness. As simple as that, really. In fact, I'm surprised I could explain it so well. But it's much more than this. It's just that the Jesus story gives us such a good handle on where we're going. Holy Spirit becomes our guide, you see, dwells with us, speaks only of Him, which means we experience His perfect company now, even in this world, and we're transformed accordingly. We start to reflect everything He shows us. We're sanctified, rescued, transcendent by the grace and the goodness and the loveliness of our Heavenly Dad. In a sense, as per the story. This is what makes or is the wonderfulness of the story. You could say it's not of this world, but it is of this world as well. Can I say the perfect option for us to choose? And we can say, I think, that God in his loving kindness has put this on the menu for us, has given us this story. This is the way. Walk ye in it. It's the advice to us from God in the story of Jesus. Wow. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.